House of the Dragon is back with season 2 of the show. I just want to start by saying what an ending that was for those that have read the book. Blood and cheese was something that was on the horizon, but man, those sounds of the knife at the end and the fact that they actually went through with it, what a way to end the first episode and immerse us back into the world with war being on the horizon. And us also getting our first look at Winterfell, the Wall and the Starks. Let's jump into this episode and break down all that there was to take away from it. Plus, I'll also give my review here, is House of the Dragon Season 2. Episode 1, Ending Explained, just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. The ending of this episode was one which will probably long live in the memory of the show for Rhaenyra. This whole episode was about finding proof that her son Luerys Valerian was in fact dead. She heard the news from a raven, but there was no proof that he was in fact killed, I suppose, in hindsight. He could have been getting held hostage or something like that. So she wanted that proof so she could finally start to process the grief and then act on the revenge that she wanted to seek when she found the wing of Caraxes washed up on the shore. That was all the proof that she needed to then carry out her plan of claiming a son. For a son, she wanted the head of the person that caused her son's death, which was Aemon to Arion. With Daemon going to King's Landing, we saw that he met with the rat catcher, a person that White Worm pointed him in the direction of. What I liked about the rat catcher was the fact that he specialized in being able to navigate through Aegon's tunnels, which was called the Rat's Nest. And as he was walking through the tunnels, it was very symbolic of rats crawling through a sewer with all of the water and the darkness that surrounded them. They obviously went there with the intention of killing On, but seeing as though they weren't able to find him, they instead stumbled across Helena, and in doing so they claimed a son for a son, by taking the head of Jaehaerys heir to the throne. Something which is going to come with massive consequences for Rhaena. They didn't just kill Aemond, a Targaryen brother to the king. They killed the future king, whilst we don't know if that's what Daemon actually proposed when they asked him what they should do if they couldn't find Aemond. It feels like that could be the case, as we know that he does have an extremely evil side to him within King's Landing. The first time that we properly saw Aegon was him showing just how much he cared for his son and the importance that he was placing on the fact that he was going to be the future king. He was taking him away from when he was resting and even letting him get away with playing during a serious discussion around the council, showing that there was a soft spot within him, and that soft spot was for his son. So I thought that was a nice touch in the beginning, as it already shows us the pain that he's going to be going through in the next episode following what happened to his son because he was so close to him. Helena also hinted towards being afraid in this episode during the first section, being afraid of the rats. There were moments in season 1 of the show where she exhibited some kind of not supernatural power, but an ability to be able to have some kind of insight or view on what was coming around the corner. And that was present in this episode too, with the fact that she had the right to be afraid. And obviously the rat connection as well, the consequences, I think the consequences are going to spread far and wide following the action that was carried out. So first of all, I suppose the main thing is the fact that it was never intended to happen, at least not from our perspective. Jerry shouldn't have been killed, but that won't matter, or it'll be something that's understood by those that matter. Judging by the weeks ahead trailer that was released, it seems like Rhaenyra isn't going to be able to trust Daemon moving forward. She never wanted the slaughtering of a young boy like that, regardless of if it was Aegon's child, probably because she knew of the consequences that would be coming. All-out war was on the horizon. But it's something that's a certainty. Now, what was going in the Blacks' favor was the fact that they only needed to worry about going on the offense, whereas now Aegon is going to be acting with emotion, and he will be going on the offense, which means that the Blacks will need to now work on having a strong defense and being prepared at any occasion for them to strike something that they didn't need to worry about before. We saw that both the Greens and the Blacks were looking to recruit people into their side from around the entirety of Westeros, with word spreading that the Blacks slayed the heir to the throne in his sleep in a brutal fashion. That's something that might make people question which side they truly want to be on, and it could ultimately weaken the prospect of the Blacks getting more people on their side. So I think the fact that they acted in the way that they did, it's going to have put them on the back foot for now. And also in moving forward, the dividing King's Landing. One thing that I thought was particularly interesting was the divide that was present amongst the Greens. Within King's Landing, Egon already looks like an incompetent leader. After just one episode, he doesn't seem to have his head screwed on, and he thinks more with his heart than he does his head. Which, whilst it might seem like a good thing to have an empathetic king in order to be a ruthless leader that ascends the Iron Throne, emotions are something that you can't let waver your decisions, and we saw that being present when it came to the people asking for leniency on certain things. It was actually Sirota who got him back on track. When it came to the decision-making, Eamon definitely seems like the person that would be the better ruler. And it was interesting that Sorat mentioned how he and Vagar were the most valuable asset to the realm. I don't think the brothers will turn on one another, but it does very much feel like Aemond is the true leader out of the both of them when it comes to Alicent. She seems to be breaking oaths and showing signs of empathy, which highlights that her connection to Rhaenyra is something which is present within her. She was being intimate with Sir Christ and Cole on multiple occasions, and even in the final moments was caught in the act after they both said that they wouldn't do it again. Plus, when she was lighting a candle and mourning King Viserys, she also lit one and said the name Larys Valerian, showing that maybe that motherly feeling that she has was something which allowed her to connect to Rhaenyra, and she could understand the pain that she was going through, especially due to the fact that it was down to the hands of her own son. The thing with Alicent is that her actions aren't going on. No, notice she gets undermined by her father when on the council, which frustrates her, but as well as that, her son Ald referred to her as weak. So there is definitely a clear divide that's present amongst the immediate family, as well as that Lord Larys also seems to be stirring the pot. He mentioned to Egon about how so Rodo was hand to his now third king, and that he was previously hand to Viserys and ultimately betrayed him. So it very much feels like Larys is laying down the foundations and planting the seed in Egon's mind to be wary of his grandfather and to make him aware that there might come a time where Sir Otto is making the decisions, when in reality it's Egon's final decision that's crucial. So maybe Larys wants to be hand to the king. The divide amongst the family is something that's going to prove to be damaging in the long run, because they need unity. The death of Egon's son is something which could provide that sense of unity, even if it was technically a son for a son. On a broader sense, it also feels like King's Landing and the residents of the city are struggling and feeling the weight of the strain due to the blockade that was set up. So in general, King's Landing isn't the place that it was when we left it. My review of the episode, I thought this was a great premiere to season 2 of the show. It reimbursed us back into the world, and by showing us Winterfell the Wall and a Stark for the first time in several years, there was a sense of familiarity that had a nostalgic edge to it when Cran spoke about the dragons not wanting to fly over the wall. And the wall being there to stop death, knowing what obviously happens in Game of Thrones, it just makes it hit even harder. Because we know and they don't. I thought the pacing of the episode was really well structured. It felt like something bad was always going to happen, but we were constantly being led by conversation and discussion, and there wasn't much action. So it kind of allowed the pace and rhythm to be quite slow, but very natural, however, because the ending was so shocking in terms of the ACT, but also the audible experience. It just captured everything it needed to and contrasted the natural pacing that was present throughout the rest of the runtime. The overall feeling of uncertainty, division, and war on the horizon is something that I feel encapsulates what tends to happen before war does actually erupt, and we're seeing it occurring on a small scale with regards to the families, but also on a wider scale with the way that people are generally feeling. So the setting in itself just feels like it's perfect. I'm not going to lie, I could have actually done with the episode being even longer than what it was. I would have liked it to have been maybe 1 hour and 15. I felt like by the time I got used to being back into the world, I was taken straight back out of it. But that's just a problem for me to deal with. Not the show in general. I'm genuinely looking forward to seeing where these next few episodes are going to go. This season is 2 episodes shorter than season 1, which I am a bit gutted about, but I just hope that the quality of the episodes make up for it, which I'm sure it will. So there you have it. House of the Dragon Season 2, Episode 1 ending explained.